All right, we're going to continue Unit 2, Omnivore's Dilemma, by going on to review and check your understanding of Chapter 2. I did put in the answers for the intro slides. So at any time, if you want to go back and review any of the questions that were on the first educating video for Omnivore's Dilemma, please go back and do that. You can just pause the video and on each slide and read the question and go and review the answer choices. And your review for your comprehension check for chapter 1 was on your paper yesterday. Remember the multiple choice questions. It was 6 questions. So let's move on to chapter 2. The objectives for chapter 2. Chapter 2 is called the form. And it says these were your objectives. I can explain how the author uses cause and effect to convey ideas in a text. I can explain the impact of visuals on my understanding of a text. So this chapter starts off with Pollen talking about his experience on a farm, on George Naylor's farm, in the Midwest, which was called specifically a place called Greene County, Iowa. So the first question, it says, which one of the 4 food chains does this section of the United States represent? Basically, I'm talking about these states that are highlighted right here. I hope you picked the industrial meal or industrial. Remember, Pollen breaks down this book into 4 basic food chains: the industrial organic, local sustainable, and hunter gatherer. So the first section that he's presenting is the industrial meal, which this is where food comes from large farms and is shipped to all different states. But it comes from large farm areas. The next question number 2. What is the meaning of hybrid as used on page 23 of your text? And please, by all means, always refer to your text and also use the pictures. The pictures can also give you clues as to what the words mean or help you figure out the answers. So, what is the meaning of the word hybrid? All right. So I hope you chose a mixture or a combination of plants. On page 23, it says a hybrid is a plant or animal whose parents have different traits. And then it gives you an example of a hybrid. For example, you might take a type of corn that resists disease and cross it with another type of corn that produces a lot of ears. The result is a hybrid, a disease resistant plant that produces a lot of corn. So basically, a hybrid takes the qualities or the traits from 2 different things and kind of combines them together. Kind of the same way that you are combined. You have a mother, you have a father, you get genes and DNA from both, and when it comes together, you are created and you get different traits from each one. Hence, remember your conversation and your instruction from Ms. Pike about DNA and genes and traits. Question number 3. What is one of the biggest benefits to farmers switching to hybrid and GMO corn products? GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. Select your answer now. Remember, you can pause the video at any time in order to quickly review your text or your chart, but you have to keep working diligently. So, one of the biggest benefits, I hope you selected the correct answer, is the fact that farmers can grow more crops. The old fashioned way by crossing corn. Well, I'm sorry. Let me go to the text. It says today the seed companies have taken things a step further. Genetically modified corn seed promises even higher yields than hybrid seed. So both of these products, hybrid and GMO corn products, it helps the farmers create more corn. They basically can grow a lot more corn than they did in the past. Question number 4. Why did the amount of crops and the diversity of crops change over time? And you can refer to your chapter 2 Text. This chart basically shows the 1920 crop list and then the 2002 crop list. What is the reason that the amount of crops and the diversity of crops changed over time? So basically, the diversity with many different types of crops allow farmers to get by if prices fell for any one crop. The arrival of high yield corn changed all of that. It changed the very landscape of Iowa as corn drove out the other plants and animals and even many of the people. So it was a lot cheaper to grow an abundance of corn and a few of these other products that are listed here, like soybeans, hay, cattle, horses, hogs, oats, and sheep. It was more beneficial for them to continue to grow and those products than it would be to grow a lot of the products that were still listed on these papers. On the other side, on the 1920 side. So, like chapter one basically explained, corn is a large superfood, and it feeds the horses, it feeds the cows, it feeds the sheep, and then hence it's kind of like a cycle. All of it is kind of related to each other. So corn became such a profitable crop to where most of the farmers went to corn. Question number 5. Find the best piece of textual evidence in chapter 2 that supports question number, 4, and change question number 4. Change in the which was about the change in the amount of crop and the diversity of crops. So you can pause the video here and type in the best piece of textual evidence that supports why the amount of crops that were grown decreased in amount and decreased in diversity. Type in the best piece of textual evidence. Question number 6. How did the decrease of farms and the decline in the variety of crops grown affect farm cities? So you can see in this graphic right here, the title of this graph is of this map is disappearing farms. So you see one of the United States was the farm area in 1950, which is almost covered with dark, which is shaded darker. And then you see the other United States map. It says the farm area in 2000, which has very very little dark shading in it, and most of that dark shading is in the Midwest section of the United States where most of the farms still exist. So the question says, how did the decrease of farms and the decline in the variety of crops grown affect farm cities? So I hope you chose the correct answer, but the answer, or basically the explanation or example, can be found on page 28 when it talks about it gives Naylor's farming city, which was Greene County. It uses it as an example. It says the town of Churston in the center of the county is like a ghost town. The barbershop, a food market, and the local movie theater have all closed in recent years. The middle school has so few students left it can no longer field a baseball team. It takes 4 local high schools to field a single football team. The Jefferson, Scranton, Patton, Churchton Rams. So basically, the amount of people, the amount of businesses, it dwindled, it decreased because a lot of the farms were shut down and a lot of the farming families no longer were farming. So I hope you understand how all of this is kind of related to each other. Now, before you complete, number 7, I'm sorry, write an objective summary for chapter 2. This means that you retell what happened in your own words, include important details only, and do not include your own opinion of the text. And please quickly review this slide for today's reading of the article that you have to read that is related to our book.